Welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. Today we're joined by Matt, the CEO of Marygold Co. Matt, really nice to have you.
Well, thank you, Mo. Delighted to be here.
Brilliant. Marygold Co. has built an incredible wealth management app with savings provided by Griffin. Matt, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about the vision behind the app? Yeah.
To start with, I'd say we're filling a market gap.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be the first company to launch an app in the UK, a first banking app, which is entirely focused on the complexities of human behaviour.
Right.
Recognising that we're all real people. We all have nuances.
Yeah.
We're unique, and we have our unique financial DNA.
Yeah.
The vision is based on the fact that we're all our human behaviours will impact our financial behaviours and be impacted by emotions and psychology.
Yeah.
Humans are fickle. We make or we defer decisions every day.
Yeah.
Based on how we feel or what's in front of us.
Yeah.
Marygold's done a lot of research into the behavioural side of these things. So from a psychological perspective, and there's some interesting data that I'll just throw some numbers at you. 27% of Brits say that their financial behaviour is heavily influenced by their emotion and their emotions. 29% say that their finances change on a constant basis. So constantly changing. And almost a quarter of us say that we lack the motivation and the discipline to save.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's clear to us that there's that the incumbents don't really help us with that.
Okay. There had to be something entering this space and giving people the right incentive, the right nudges to save.
Absolutely.
What makes the Marygold app different to some of the other players? So what is it specifically that you guys are doing that pushes people towards saving?
Well, fundamentally, we're built on human psychology. So we have worked with a financial psychologist who's helped us to steer the features within the app and to help us build it. And we've also designed it's almost a self-diagnosed financial personality questionnaire.
Wow. Okay.
To help with the features and which features to point towards people. I can quickly summarise. They're not hard and fast. They're not mutually exclusive, but the four categories are broadly you got confidence, organised people. People that will super confident will partition. They'll do budgeting. They'll know where to save, and they'll perform it on an optimized basis. Next, you have the avoiders, and the avoiders, and avoiding isn't necessarily a bad phrase. Avoiders is possibly most of us, so they're super busy. They haven't got the time to do it. They avoid doing it. So you have a hard day's work. You go back. You sit on the sofa. You've got a list of 5 things you need to do, and sorting out your finances is number 6. So you won't do anything.
Makes sense.
Anxious people are very similar to avoiders. So anxious, they'll run a mile if you start talking about finances and financial behaviour. And they will feel anxious around making decisions around their finances. Maybe they don't understand it. And the fourth one is spenders. So spenders, as it would suggest, they spend too much. They need to stop spending. They need a bit of friction in their lifestyle. And so you've designed the app around these different kind of groups and groups of behaviours, and you've kind of made features to help with each of these types of behaviour. Is that right? I mean, sometimes we need a bit more friction. So it could be more friction. Say a spender, for example, needs a bit more friction to stop them spending money. Sometimes a little less friction. So it could be to make it as easy as possible to save towards that goal of yours.
That makes a lot of sense. The other thing I find really interesting about your app is not just the focus on individuals, but also on small businesses. That's not something you often see. How come you decided to target small businesses as well?
I mean, there are other apps that provide savings to businesses, but when you take from the human psychology perspective and the nuances of the complexities of human behaviour, businesses save for different reasons. So a business will not save like an individual does for an end goal.
Okay.
Say,
Yeah.
but business will essentially save for two reasons. One is it has surplus cash; it needs to optimize its working capital. It may be funding that's going to be spent on operational things down the line.
Yeah.
And the second one is it needs liquidity.
Okay.
And liquidity is very important because you need the cash available when your cash flow requirements come up. When the bills need paying, you need liquid cash.
Yeah.
And we certainly from the research perspective and from a macro perspective, there's some big problems there for many corporates. So the example I give is at the macro level, taking a big step back.
Yeah.
The UK has a tax gap.
Right.
A tax gap is a difference between tax which is owed and tax which is collected.
Okay.
Now, HMRC, the last year's figures for HMRC say there's a £40 billion tax gap.
Wow.
Now, that's quite a sign. It's the 22 billion black hole that was talked about pre the budget.
Yeah.
But of that 40 billion, 24 billion relates to small businesses.
Okay.
So that's PAYE, that's VAT, that's corporation tax.
Yeah.
But 12 billion relates to corporation tax.
Wow.
Now, corporation tax is paid on profit. So this is not companies who are losing money hand over fist.
No.
These are companies that are making probably 50, 60 billion pounds worth of profit, and they've got 12 billion, collectively 12 billion pounds of tax to pay, and it's not being collected. So you know what HMRC does with companies that don't pay the taxes. So that's the end of the company, so to speak. Now, what's the interesting part of that is, a whole host of reasons why the companies aren't able to pay these taxes, but companies are run by people.
Yeah.
So the same people who are subject to these human frailties, complex behaviours, psychological factors run these companies.
Yeah.
And they require the same self-curated tools that we can provide to help them save.
Yeah.
And also save in an optimal way as opposed to taking the easy route, which is parking the money with your existing bank's easy access savings account through the app. Yeah.
Yeah, which we know often is suboptimal rates, and they're potentially not maximising what they can get.
No, I mean, some of the banks though, when you can get nudged to putting money into a savings pot,
right,
or pool that pays zero interest. I know the bank we use, I think it's 1%.
Okay.
On easy access.
Yeah.
Now through Marygold via Griffin, we're able to achieve, AER 3.56. It's not top of the table, but it's a lot better than 1%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, a long way better. That makes a lot of sense. It kind of brings us on to the next question, which is why did you choose to work with Griffin? Yeah.
Well, obviously there were alternatives.
Yeah.
We spoke with many of the firms. I think what we found with Griffin in particular, I think you have very good people. Right. So one, you have good people, and that's apparent when you meet people at Griffin. I think what's also apparent is you have a very strong, good culture that seems to flow through the whole organisation, which means that's clearly set. You're smiling at this.
I'm feeling good about it. Keep talking.
It's true. And that's set from the top. So that's set by David.
Yeah,
all the way through the organisation. And when you start combining good people with good culture, you're going to achieve good things. And we can see that. We can recognise that. And you're a relatively small organisation, which means that we're able to work with you in a collaborative sense. Yeah. So because we've worked together for however long.
Yeah.
That we have inquiries, we have requests, we have augmentations that we seek, and you listen, and you do it.
Yeah, we try to. So for sure.
I think from our perspective, that's certainly one of the good, the reasons that we chose you, and the expectations were met.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really, really good to hear. Yeah. I'm personally very excited for your launch. I've been lucky enough to have a preview.
Demo, haven't you? Yeah.
It's very cool. Even beyond my expectations. I already knew it was going to be cool, but it's even beyond my expectations. I'm really excited about that. What else is on the horizon for Marygold Co?
I'll probably mention a couple of things. I've said that we're working with a financial psychologist. We have this questionnaire which allows you to select your financial personality, again, not mutually exclusive, etc. And that will be available on launch. What we'd like to do with that, and which won't be launch, is we know that those features that we have could be highlighted in a different way depending on if you're a spender,
Okay.
If you're anxious, if you're a confident, organised person, or if you're an avoider. So the presentation of the features can be highlighted differently, or the language that can be used.
Yeah.
So if you want to make a decision and do something, you will present the decision to proceed differently to an anxious person.
Got it.
As opposed to a super confident person.
Yeah.
And if there's a choice of more than two things,
yeah,
it may not get made. So we'd like to do that, and we'll be doing that. We're working with this very good psychologist to help us. The second point there is that we're starting with instant access savings accounts, or easy access savings accounts, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't want to get in trouble with your compliance department. So they're easy access savings accounts.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. They're simple, they're easy to understand.
Yeah.
For most people, that's as far as you would go with your savings. But if you have a longer term savings horizon,
right,
you're more likely to have a need for maybe a bit more risk and investments. So what we're able to do is we recently got the permissions from the FCA to be able to offer investments on the platform as well.
Brilliant.
So we'll be doing that on a self-select basis with an overarching North Star principle that it's got to be simple. So radical simplification. Yeah. Remove choice, work with the personality types.
Right.
As you know, we've already got advisory capabilities. So we've got full-on financial advice. Yeah. At one end of the spectrum, we'll have savings to cash, investments in there as well. And there's a bit in the middle around, there's a massive advice gap in the UK. Yeah. What is 10 million people with over £10,000 to invest. Half of them have an investment appetite, aren't doing anything. The advice gap is there. It can be filled out with some sort of hybrid bionic advice in the middle. That's longer term. Yeah, that's incredibly exciting. And I love the fact that you're bringing all of these different elements in, but you're starting from the individual, the person, and how it all works for their specific scenario. It's very cool. Final question. You're building this amazing app. You've done a lot of incredible things in fintech, in finance. What would be your advice, your one lesson for a fintech CEO? It's difficult because it's a bit like we're saying, everyone's different, everyone's unique, everyone's financial DNA is different, everyone's business is different too. Yeah. I think the main thing we found in terms of designing, building and launching the app is you've got to differentiate. Okay. So differentiation is, I think from my perspective, absolutely key, but you've got to differentiate with a commercially viable business model. So there's a caveat to that. Yeah. I know you said one thing, but in terms of the journey to get here, it's very important to be able to know when to compromise and when not to compromise. Okay. Mm-hmm. So certain things you have to compromise on in the interest of getting a launch. You know that at the very beginning you think that's a definite, you have to have X, Y, and Z. When it comes to the crunch and it comes to the launch time, you need to know that it's okay to drop those for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Got it. But also when not to drop things because they are so critical to the DNA of the commercial model and the differentiation that you need to be successful in what is a very crowded marketplace. Yeah. No, that's great advice. Yeah. My absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.